Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
eyeball, everybody's here.
Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya.
Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Vrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Ananda Paramahamsa,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda,
Haribol Krishna,
Ananda Paramahamsa,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswaru, Ananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswaru, Ananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya.
So let's continue here. What we discussed is the prayer of Mother Earth personified. So to have a recall, so Mother Earth is so much overburdened with what the demoniac kings are doing on planet Earth, and she's very aggrieved that the living entities at the time were being harassed, disturbed by demons. So he approached Lord Brahma for help, and Lord Brahma meditated upon the seashore of the ocean of milk and prayed to Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna communicated through his heart that he will appear to protect the devotees. So after engaging in so many activities in protecting the devotees, here is a deliverance of the demon Bhaumazura. So now let us hear the prayer after Bhaumazura was killed, the prayer of Mother Earth personified. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who is always present with 4 kinds of symbols, namely conch shell, dish, lotus, and club, who is the Lord of all demigods. Please accept my respectful obeisances unto you, my dear Lord. You are the super soul, and in order to satisfy the aspiration of the devotees, you descend on the earth in various transcendental incarnations, which are just appropriate to the devotees' worshipable desires. Kindly accept my respectful obeisances. My dear Lord, the lotus flower is grown out of your navel, and you are always decorated with a garland of lotus flowers. Your eyes are always spread like petals of the lotus flower, and therefore they are all pleasing to the eyes of others. Your lotus feet are so soft and delicate that they are always worshipped by your unalloyed devotees, and they pacify their lotus-like hearts. I therefore repeatedly offer my obeisances, respectful obeisances unto you. You possess all kinds of religion, fame, property, knowledge, and renunciation. You are the shelter of the 5 opulences. Although you are all-pervading, you have nevertheless appeared as the son of Vasudeva. Please therefore accept my respectful obeisances. You are the original personality of Godhead and the supreme cause of all causes. Only your Lordship is the reservoir of all knowledge. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Personally, you are unborn. Still, you are the father of the whole cosmic manifestation. You are the reservoir and shelter of all kinds of energies. The manifestive appearance of this world is caused by you, and you are both the cause and effect of the cosmic manifestation. Please therefore accept my respectful obeisances. My dear Lord, as far as the 3 gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they are also not independent of you. When there is a necessity of creating this cosmic manifestation, you create your passionate appearance of Brahma. And when you want to maintain the whole cosmic manifestation, you expand yourself as Lord Vishnu, the reservoir of all goodness. Similarly, you appear as Lord Shiva, master of the modes of ignorance, and thus dissolve the whole creation. Your transcendental position is always maintained. In spite of creating these three modes of material nature, you are never entangled like the ordinary living entities with these modes of material nature. Actually, my dear Lord, you are the material nature. You are the Father of the universe. You are the eternal time that has caused the combination of nature and material creator. Still, you are always transcendental to all these activities. Still, you are always transcendental to all these material activities. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know that earth, fire, air, sky, and the five sense object, the mind, the senses, their deities, egotism, as well as the total material energy, everything animate and inanimate in this phenomenal world is resting upon you. Since everything is produced of you, nothing can be separated from you. Yet since you are transcendentally situated, neither can anything material be identified with your personality. Everything is therefore simultaneously one and different from you. And the philosophers who try to separate everything from you are certainly mistaken in their viewpoint. My dear Lord, may I inform you that this boy, whose name is Bhagavadatta, is the son of my son, Bhaumazura. He has been very much affected by the ghastly situation created by the death of his father, and has become very much confused. Being afraid of the present situation, I have therefore brought him to surrender unto your lotus feet. I request your lordship to give shelter to this boy and bless him with your lotus feet. I am bringing him to you so that he may become relieved from the reaction of the simple activities of his father. When Lord Krishna heard the prayers of Mother Earth, he immediately assured her of immunity from all fearful situation. He said to Bhagavadatta, "Don't be afraid." Then he entered the palace of Bhaumasura, which was equipped with all kinds of opulences. In the palace of Bhaumasura, Lord Krishna saw 16,100 young princesses who had been kidnapped and held captive there. When the princesses saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, entered the palace, they immediately became captivated by the beauty of the Lord and prayed for his causeless mercy. Within their minds, they decided to accept Lord Krishna as their husband without any hesitation. Each one of them began to pray to Providence that Krishna might become their husband. Sincerely and seriously, they offered their hearts to the lotus feet of Krishna with an unalloyed devotional attitude. As a super soul in everyone's heart, Krishna could understand their uncontaminated desire, and he agreed to accept them as his wives. Thus he arranged for suitable dresses, ornaments for them, and each of them, seated in a palanquin, was dispatched to the city, to Dwarka city. Krishna also collected unlimited wealth from the palace, along with chariots, horses, jewels, and treasures. He took from the palace 50 white elephants, each with 4 tusks, and all of them were dispatched to Dwarka. After this incident, Lord Krishna and Satyabhama entered Amaravati, the capital city of the heavenly planet, and they immediately entered the palace of King Indra and his wife Sachi Devi, who welcomed them. Krishna then presented Indra with the earrings of Aditi. When Krishna and Satyabhama were returning from the capital of Indra, Satyabhama remembered Krishna's promise to give her the plant of the Parijata flower. Taking the opportunity of having come to the heavenly kingdom, she plucked a Parijata plant and kept it on the back of Garuda. Once Narada took a Parijata flower and presented it to Krishna's senior wife, Sri Rukmini Devi. On account of this, Satyabhama developed an inferiority complex. She also wanted a flower from Krishna, and Krishna could understand the competitive womanly nature of his co-wives. And he smiled. He immediately asked Satyabhama, "Why are you asking for only one flower? I would like to give you the whole tree of the Parijata flower." Actually, Krishna had purposely taken his wife Satyabhama with him, so she could collect the Parijata with her own hand. But the denizens of the heavenly planet, including Indra, became very irritated. Without their permission, Sat became irritated. Without their permission, Satyabhama had plucked a parijata plant, which is not to be found on the earth planet. Indra, along with other demigods, offered opposition to Krishna and Satyabhama for taking away the plant. But in order to please his favorite wife, Satyabhama, Krishna became determined and adamant. So there was a fight between the demigods and Krishna. As usual, Krishna came out victorious, and he triumphantly brought the parijata plant chosen by his wife to this earth planet, to Dwarka. After this, the plant was installed in the palace garden of Satyabhama. On account of this extraordinary tree, the garden house of Satyabhama became extraordinarily beautiful. As the parijata plant came down to the earth planet, the fragrance of the flower also came down, and the celestial swans also migrated to this earth in search of its fragrance and honey. King Indra's behavior towards Krishna was not very much appreciated by great sages like Sukadev Goswami. Out of his causeless mercy, Krishna had gone to the heavenly kingdom, Amaravati, to present King Indra with his mother's earring, which has been lost to Bhau-Mazura, and Indra had been very glad to receive them. But when a flower plant from the heavenly kingdom was taken by Krishna, Indra offered a fight with him. This was self-interest on the part of Indra. He offered his prayers, tipping down his head on the lotus feet of Krishna. But as soon as his purpose was served, he became a different creature. That is the way of the dealing of materialistic men. Materialistic men are always interested in their own profit. For this purpose, they can offer any kind of respect to anyone. But when their personal interest is over, they are no longer friends. This selfish nature is not only found among the richer class of men on this planet, but is present even in personalities like Indra and other demigods. Too much wealth makes a man selfish. A selfish man is not prepared to take to Krishna consciousness and is condemned by great devotees like Sukadev Goswami. In other words, possession of too many worldly riches is a disqualification for advancement in Krishna consciousness. After defeating Indra, Krishna arranged to marry the 16,100 girls brought from the custody of Bhaumasura by expanding himself into 16,100 forms. He simultaneously married them in all different palaces in one auspicious moment. So Lord Krishna expanded himself into 16,100 forms. So here we can also remember the conclusion or the prayer of Lord Brahma in Brahma Samhita, that although a lot of emanation comes from the Supreme Person, he remains the complete balance. Okay? Nothing is taken away from him, but it expands. He is unlimited. After defeating Indra, Krishna arranged to marry the 100 girls brought from the custody of Bhaumasura. By expanding himself to 16,100 forms, he simultaneously married them in all different palaces in one auspicious moment. He thus established the truth that Krishna has no one else is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is nothing impossible for Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is all-powerful, omnipresent, and imperishable. And such, there is nothing wonderful in his pastimes. All the palaces of more than 16,000 queens of Krishna were full with suitable gardens, furniture, and other paraphernalia, of which there is no parallel in this world. There is no exaggeration in this story from Srimad Bhagavatam. The queens of Krishna were all expansion of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Krishna used to live with them in different palaces, and he treated them exactly the same way as an ordinary man treats his wife. We should always remember that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was playing exactly like a human being. Although he showed this extraordinary opulence by simultaneously marrying more than 16,100 wives in more than 16,100 palaces, he behaved with them just like an ordinary man. And he strictly followed the relationship between husband and wife required in ordinary homes. Therefore, it's very difficult to understand the characteristic of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very hard to understand the characteristic of the Supreme Brahman, the Personality of Godhead. Even demigods like Brahma and others are unable to probe into the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The wives of Krishna were so fortunate that they got the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their husband. Although their husband's personality was unknown even to the demigods like Brahma. In their dealing as husband and wife, Krishna and his queens would smile, talk, joke, embrace, and so on. In their conjugal relationship were increasingly developed. In this way, both Krishna and the queens enjoyed transcendental happiness in their household life. Although each and every queen had thousands of maidservants engaged in her service, the queens were all personally attentive in serving Krishna. Each one of them used to receive Krishna personally when he entered the palace. They engaged in getting him seated on a nice couch, presenting him with all kinds of worshipable paraphernalia, washing his lotus feet with Ganges water, offering him betel nuts and massaging his legs. In this way, they were giving him relief from the fatigue of being away from home. They saw to fanning him nicely, offering him fragrant essential floral oil, decorating him with flower garlands, dressing his hair, asking him to lie down to take a rest, bathing him personally, and feeding him nice palatable dishes. All these were done by each queen. They did not wait for the maidservant. In other words, Krishna and his different queens displayed on this earth an ideal household life. So I'll continue reading the pastimes of Lord Krishna. The great sage Narada visit the different homes of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna expanded himself into 16,100 forms, and he married all the 16,100 princesses. So there's nothing impossible for the Supreme Person, because the Supreme Person expands himself as the Paramatma, which is side by side with us. The Paramatma is the guidance of God's will, the witness. And how can we understand it? Through the descending process coming from God Himself. The saintly person, the unbroken chain of saintly person and spiritual master who represents the Lord from the outside. So the bona fide spiritual master is the Paramatma from the outside. So the empowered living entity, the spiritual master, is not different from Paramatma. He gives us guidance, He gives us a process wherein we become purified from this material conditioning, and we're able to hear the Lord within the heart, and the conclusion of that instruction is affirmed by the spiritual master and scripture. The great sage Narada heard that Lord Krishna had married 16,000 wives after he killed the demon Narakasura, sometimes called Baumazura. Narada became astonished that Lord Krishna has expanded himself into 16,000 forms and married these wives simultaneously in different palaces. Being inquisitive how Krishna was managing his household affairs with so many wives, Narada desired to see these pastimes and so set out to visit Krishna's different homes. When Narada Muni arrived in Dwarka, he saw that the gardens and parks were full of various flowers of different colors and orchards, and were overloaded with a variety of fruits. Beautiful birds were chirping, and peacocks were delightfully crowing. There were tanks and ponds full of blue and red lotus flowers, and some of these sites were filled with varieties of lilies. The lakes were full of nice ones, and the cranes whose voices resounded everywhere. In this city there are as many as 900,000 great palaces built of first-class marble with gates and doors made of silver. So when Krishna left, he brought back all of this to the spiritual world. The posts of the houses and palace were bedecked with jewels such as touchstone, sapphires, and emeralds. And the floors gave off a beautiful luster. The highway lanes, streets, crossing, and marketplace were all beautifully decorated. The whole city was full of residential homes, assembly houses, and temples of all different architecturally beauty. All of them made Dwarka a glowing city. The big avenues, crossing lanes, streets, and also the threshold of every residential house were very clean. On both sides of every path there were bushes, and at regular intervals there were large trees that shaded the avenues so that the sunshine would not bother the passerby. In this greatly beautiful city of Dwarka, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had many residential quarters. The great kings and princes of the world used to visit these palaces just to worship him. Their architectural plans were made personally by Vishvakarma, the engineer of the demigods. And the construction of the palace, he exhibited all his talents in ingenuity. So when Lord Krishna came here, all the demigods assisted him. So in this case, the engineer of the demigods was the one who constructed all the palaces. These residential quarters number more than 16,000, and a different queen of Lord Krishna resided in each of them. The great sage Narada entered one of the houses and saw that the pillars were made of coral and the ceilings were bedecked with jewels. The walls as well as the arches between the pillars glowed from the decoration of different kinds of sapphires. Throughout the palace there were many canopies made by Vishvakarma that were decorated with strings of pearls. The chairs and other furniture were made of ivory, bedecked with gold and diamonds. And the jewel's lamp dissipated the darkness within the palace. There was so much incense and flavored gum burning that the scented fumes were coming out of the windows. The peacock sitting on the step became illusioned by the fumes, mistaking them for clouds, and began dancing jubilantly. There were many maidservants, and all of whom were decorated with gold necklaces, bangles, and beautiful saris. There were also male servants who were nicely dressed in cloaks and turbans, and the jeweled earrings. Beautiful as they were, the servants were all engaged in different household duties. Narada saw that Lord Krishna was sitting with Rukmini Devi, the mistress of that particular palace, who was bearing the rod of Chamaravis. Even though there were many thousands of maidservants who were equally beautiful and qualified and who were at the same age, Rukmini Devi personally was engaged in fanning Krishna. Rukmini Devi is the goddess of fortune. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, worshipped even by Narada. But still, as soon as he saw Narada enter the palace, Krishna got down and immediately from Rukmini's bedstead and stood up to honor him. Lord Krishna is the teacher of the whole world, and in order to instruct everyone how to respect a saintly person like Narada Muni, Krishna bowed down and touching his helmet to the ground. So even the Supreme Person, he gives example or guidance how to treat a saintly person. So Lord Krishna bowed down to Narada Muni. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, worshipped by all devotees. He is the most worshipped spiritual master of everyone. The Ganges water which emanate from his feet sanctifies the three worlds. A qualified Brahmana worship him, and therefore is called Brahmanya Deva. Brahmanya means one who fully possesses the Brahminical qualification, which are said to be as follows: truthfulness, self-control, purity, mastery of the senses, simplicity, full of knowledge and practical application, and engagement in devotional service. Lord Krishna personally possesses all these qualities and is worshipped by the person who themselves possess such qualities. There are thousands and millions of names of Lord Krishna. So the spiritual master, there's only one spiritual master, Krishna. And the spiritual master possess all these qualities. So, the bona fide spiritual master who are representative of Lord Krishna possess all these qualities. And what are those qualities? The qualities of Lord Krishna. I'll reiterate again. Truthfulness, self-control, purity, mastery of the senses, simplicity, full knowledge by practical application, and engagement in devotional service. So Lord Krishna personally possess all these qualities. He is worshipped by persons who themselves possess such qualities. There are thousands and millions of names of Lord Krishna. So let's have a recall of our study program wherein our instructing spiritual master in the nectar of devotion teaches us through the guidance of Saint Prabhupada. He's talking to Maharaj Nimi, the king, and he said to Maharaj Nimi, the qualification of a spiritual master is transcendental to material consideration. He is not touched by the influence of the modes of material nature, and also he is master of his senses. He has the ability to control the mind, the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. So, what the bona fide spiritual master teaches us is what simultaneously the qualification of a bona fide spiritual master. In these pastimes, Lord Krishna showed to us the qualification of a bona fide spiritual master. Why? Because we should only offer our life to Krishna, the Supreme Person, and to the representative of the Supreme Person, the bona fide spiritual master, the empowered living entity, whom we call our Gurudev or Saktabesh Avatar, the empowered living entity, who is non-different from the Supreme Person. So I'll read again. Lord Krishna personally possessed all these qualities: truthfulness, self-control, purity, and mastery of the senses, simplicity, full knowledge by practical application. He is worshipped by persons who themselves possess such qualities. There are thousands and millions of names of Lord Krishna, Vishnu Sahasra Nama, and all of them are given to him because of his transcendental qualities. So in the third prayer of Lord Chaitanya prays as an ordinary person. O my Lord, you have hundreds and millions of names, such as Krishna, Govinda, Rama, etc. Unlimited names, and each of its name is invested with transcendental potency. You have made it very easy for me to approach you, but unfortunate as I am, I have no attraction for them. Lord Krishna in Dwarka enjoyed the pastimes of a perfect human being. When therefore he washed the feet of the sage Narada and took the water on his head, Narada did not object, knowing well that the Lord did so to teach everyone how to respect a saintly person. The Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, who is the original Narayan and the eternal friend of the living entities, thus worship the sage Narada according to Vedic regulative principles. So one must worship the spiritual master as one worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as given through Lord Krishna's example when Narada Muni came to visit him. He bowed down, washed his feet, and offered obeisances. So that's how we relate to the representative of God, because the relationship is based upon his love for the pure devotees. So Lord, the saintly person. So Lord Krishna tells us, saints are in my heart. They're always thinking of me, and I'm always thinking of them. So to enter that relationship We must follow the footstep of Lord Krishna because He is the spiritual master who will guide us, the Supreme Person. And through His example, He showed us how to relate to the representative, His representative, who is not different from Him. So, we stop there because it's already 8 o'clock. We'll continue again tomorrow to discuss and hear the glories and the pastimes of the Supreme Person. So, the reason we do follow this process is because we are given instruction by Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, the 9th process of devotional service, which begins with hearing, remembering the pastimes of the Supreme Person and chanting His glories, because it will purify us from discovering of material disease wherein our focus is upon this temporary material world which is continually changing and a different energy from us. So what will happen? Our struggle for survival will be directed from the focus of trying in this futility to survive eternally in the body, in this body. Because we will be directed upon what we're longing for, the source of happiness, the source of life, the cause of all causes, our eternal friend who loves us unconditionally, our eternal Father, Lord Krishna. And He comes here to show His pastimes, to attract us about an eternal world that is transcendental from this changing world. So, when we are here, we are covered. We are covered and entangled due to the influence of material nature. And we are now guided by a force that have subjugated us because our love, we have been focused upon trying to pursue happiness through this material conditioning, thinking we can live eternally in the body, and our struggle for survival, for stability in this temporary material world is futile. So, we must understand clearly the direction we should be heading. So Narada Muni and Lord Krishna shows us. So it's now our choice to intelligently receive this information and see what will really protect us, what effort we should do. Will we struggle in this temporary world, a struggle for survival, in a world that is temporary? This disease of materialism, thinking we're the body, directed by the mind, we will never succeed to survive eternally in the body because the body is continually changing. So, our attachment to this world, our goal, will always be not successful. It's like fighting a war and we did not even start yet, but we are already the loser because we are in the wrong direction. And only Krishna can protect us as what He showed when He saved the 16,000 living entities who are His loving servant in different relationship, in conjugal relationship. So, relationship is integral, inseparable from the living entity. It is about a taste of service. And that service can be only satisfied when we are serving the Supreme Person because the Supreme Person is self-sufficient, the Supreme Protector, the cause of all causes. So what we should do, we should follow the formula of the devotees of God, wherein their meditation is simply remembering the holy names of the Supreme Person, and their heart's desire is to be pleasing to the Supreme Person, to be situated in a situation wherein to be situated in the situation where their only life is connection with serving and loving the Supreme Person. So material life is about selfishness, about ourselves trying to find happiness on our own. But because we are not the source of happiness, our relationship, which is eternally the loving servant of the Supreme Person, can only be mitigated when we come in contact with the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can relate to us in diversity, because we're all individuals, and only God, who is unlimited, can relate to all of us in different relationship. So the process of devotional service, the hearing and the chanting of the holy name, purify us from this misdirection, and we can now offer our life in focus while we're here in this planet by chanting the holy names. So that's all for this today. So I like to say something based upon the teachings of Scripture, which guides us. In the Upanishad, Harinama eva kevalam koloa nasteva gatiranyata. In this age of Kali Yuga, there is no other alternative. There is no other alternative. There is no other alternative to be saved except to be the chanting of the holy names. To be saved from what? From separation from what we're longing for. So, Lord Chaitanya teaches us that what we're longing for is a relationship of rendering pure loving service to the Supreme Person, wherein His pleasure is to protect us, protect that love, our whole life, wherein we offer it to Him. Although the Supreme Person is self-sufficient, He is independent, still He loves us, and He gives us always this opportunity wherein we can be connected again with what is inseparable from us, the treasure that is inseparable from us, our love. So, look closely. Where can we repose or direct our love? And if we direct it upon this world and based upon our own interest and selfishness, then we will not succeed, because in the first place, we are in the wrong direction, this material world. Is it clear? So only Krishna can purify us, protect us from our fear. What is the fear? The fear of insecurity, because we are not self-sufficient. He is the only one who protects us, who loves us, who can give us protection. And the spiritual master is not different from him, because the qualities of the Supreme Person is inseparable from the qualities of the bona fide spiritual master. And that qualities of the spiritual master is described by the spiritual master himself, Saint Prabhupada. So, if we want to succeed in our lives, we must be guided by the bona fide spiritual master. That is the importance of approaching a bona fide spiritual master, because it is God's pleasure that we come to the point of a relationship with Him with loving devotion, and can only be understood from someone who loves Him. So, if someone teaches about God, if that person is not a pure loving servant of God, it will be very hard for us to be connected in purity with the Supreme Person, because only God can give access. The bona fide spiritual master is the only one who gives us access, who opens the door, who comes down and give us this information which is non-different from the pleasure of the Supreme Person, wherein we can relate to Him with pure love. Meaning, the service we do is the end itself. We don't need any result, but rather whatever we do is for God's pleasure. So we should try, we should pray to be able to be situated in a situation, our consciousness, our heart, to render loving service to the Supreme Person, to be connected with His care and love. And Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, declare it boldly, my devotee never perish. And what is a devotee? Who is a devotee? Someone who has devotion to the Supreme Person. And as He's guiding us, He tells us how can we be connected with Him. With His love, with His heart. He tells us, under the guidance of our spiritual master, like Narada Muni, Srila Prabhupada, the Parampara, he tells us in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, translated by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami, who is the representative of Lord Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of God, and our Gurudev, who pass on this science to us. What is that all about? If one offers me with love and devotion, Lord Krishna says, a little fruit, a little flower, a leaf, with love and devotion, I will accept it. So the medium is devotion, wherein in our heart, we're offering back to the Supreme Person who is self-sufficient, our love, our life. And you don't need to change your status, your faith. You don't need to join any group. You don't need to follow someone who is, a personality cult, but rather follow the teachings of Parampara, the saintly person. Stay in your situation and follow the process of God descending as the holy names. God descend to this material world as sound, Krishna, and God has innumerable names. All what we have to do is remember the holy names, chant the holy names, never forget the holy names. And then we will be sheltered by this transcendental world of love and devotion, because Krishna, the Supreme Person, will be the ones who will guide us, who will protect us, as what He states in Bhagavad Gita. Declare it boldly, my devotee never perish. To those who are constantly devoted unto me, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. And how is that devotion achieved? By cultivation, by chanting the holy names. It's like watering the root of the tree, a plant, a seed that is planted in our heart by the spiritual master. All what we do is while we're engaged in so many activities in this world, because we are all individuals. You have different talents. We are all individuals. You can be a mother. You can be a teacher. You can be a businessman. Our focus should be remembering and chanting the holy names. And Lord Krishna will be the one to guide us. Haribol, Namaste.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasthayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasthayate.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Mahayana, Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Chaitanya.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Haribol, everybody sing.
Radha Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Haribol Krishna.
Radha Krishna Chaitanya,
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Vrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana. Haribol.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana. Haribol, Haribol.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Haribol. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Haribol Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Haribol. Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Ora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestaya Te